Hello, everyone. It's not Sunday, but Monday, and I'm here in Glasgow in the Ibis Budget Hotel. Yeah, today is welcome to another episode of Ask the Drummer. As you can see, I haven't got my usual backdrop with me because it's today I'm coming live from Glasgow. Live. I'm in Glasgow, but my guest is actually in Preston at the moment. And today, actually, is a very special day because today is my guest's birthday. So, my dear friends, please welcome Roland Scrub Jones. Yay!
Hi, Anna.
Hello, Scrub. How are you?
I'm fine. Yes, thanks. How are you? All right.
All right. Yeah, I really having a great time here in Glasgow. And today is your birthday.
That's
So,
correct. 20th of September. How can I forget?
20th of September.
Oh, yeah.
So before we start the asking you questions, I'm actually going to sing you a song, if you don't mind.
Oh, crikey. Let me guess which one.
are you are you ready? Right. There you go. There. Can you see it?
Oh, wow.
That's for you. Right.
Oh,
Here you go.
fantastic.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Scrub. Happy birthday to you. How old are you? oh my God. I'm
50.
supposed to wait, I'm supposed to say make a wish and blow, but because I was laughing too long.
Okay, let me make a wish. Oh, I wish I was 50 again. How about that?
Well, I already blew the candle for you, so it's okay. But since I'm in Glasgow and you're in Preston, well,
You're going to eat it.
I'm gonna eat it. As we say in the as we say in the Philippines, ikakain na lang kita. So
I'll take your
I'll
word
eat
for
it.
that.
Yeah, I'll eat it for you. But anyways, happy birthday,
Thank
And
you.
your son's birthday was also yesterday, right? What's his name?
Yeah, Samuel.
Samuel.
He's just gone off to university. He
Yeah.
was 19 yesterday, and
Oh,
for the last
belated.
19 years,
Yeah,
for the last
belated.
19 years, he's
Um,
ever
some,
since he was born. My birthday just gets wiped off. So, I don't like any fuss, to be honest, and
well, well,
especially when you get to my age, it's like, oh my God, can you
yeah.
believe
Well,
him?
we've got friends who wanted to greet you happy birthday. Alan Bron Ramirez. I don't know where he is exactly. Maybe in the Philippines, but he said, "Happy birthday, Roland."
Thank you.
Alison Jones. She
I
also
wonder
said,
who that is.
"Oh,
It's the
hello,
wife in the other room.
hello, Alison."
At least
Yeah,
I've got one fan.
yeah. Yeah, she said happy birthday. And also Adele O'Rourke, my Baba, my daughter, she said happy birthday.
Oh,
Yeah, she
thank you,
belongs to
Adele.
happy birthday as well.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Now, okay, that was all like I forgot what I was going to
Right,
say.
thanks, Anna. I'll see you later. Bye.
I
I'm coming to
know.
Glasgow for that cake.
Oh my God, I am so sorry. Right, okay, well, welcome to Ask the Drummer episode 7. And today it's all about you, Roland Jones, or Scrub, as
Yeah.
most people call you. And I'm just sort of like wondering, um, where did you get that name from? Because you know what I'm trying. Because I googled it because I thought maybe it's got something to do with drumming or a drumming term. But you know what I found? It says, I'm just going to read this. It says, it's the action or function of shuttling or moving the soundtrack, usually of digital audio, either forward or backward when a control is moved off a center point, either left or right. And that's from a free music dictionary. But I
Oh,
don't know if that's exactly what Scrub
no.
or
I've
Ouch
never heard of that.
You know?
I wish it was that because it sounds interesting. Um, I get asked all the time, and honestly, I've been called this for 40 years, even longer. Somebody once called because I was only small when I was younger, obviously, and somebody said hubcap, which is on a car. And then somebody went scrub cap, and it sort of stuck, and that's how nicknames happen in Preston. I've got loads of people called Slug and Worm and X and people like
Yeah.
that. So we have stupid names, and somebody laughed and called me that, and
And that's
from
it.
ever.
Oh,
But when your
yeah.
name's Roland, honestly, you can call me whatever you want. I've never liked that. But
So
yeah, it's
it's got nothing to do with your drums then, or your drumming skills or something.
nothing, unfortunately. No.
I just wanted to say hello to Neil Barker as well. Neil is my colleague at King B Records, so he's
Hi,
joined us.
Neil.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining.
yeah. Right. So you were born on this day in Preston. Is that right? In Preston, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you just tell us a bit about your childhood and maybe the music scene in Preston when you were a kid?
Yeah, sure. I was born 60 years ago, believe it or not, and I only look about 35.
No.
I feel about 65 today, but no, I am living in Penwitham, and this is where I was born. I was born a couple of streets down the road,
Right.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
never really moved out of Penwitham. Um, I moved over the river into the centre of Preston when me and the wife first got a house together, and then moved back to Penwitham when we could afford it. But
Yeah.
growing up musically, if you know the Preston Guildhall, like a lot of people do in Preston, I used to go to rock gigs and metal gigs as a 14, 15-year-old kid.
Okay.
Every weekend it was Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Steve Hillage, AC/DC, Thin Lizzy, bands
Wow.
like that. And all that was, before punk started. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I always had long hair and was growing up. And my sister, who now lives in Australia, they were into all this rock. And so I was influenced by a lot of music she likes, like T-Rex and Moody Blues and things. So yeah, it was. I mean, Preston is a very rock orientated town
Yeah.
because of all the metal gigs that used to go on. But certainly when punk just changed,
Yeah.
music forever, and and then you start listening to other things. I first heard the Sex Pistols, God Save the
Oh,
Queen,
okay. Yeah.
um, um, and even things like reggae and Bob Marley. Started getting into all that side of things, and there was just so much happening musically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bands, and the Northwest is no exception. Bands coming from all over, and yeah, so you always had music in my life,
You know. Yeah.
always,
No,
and always gone to gigs.
I don't suppose you had sort of like photos in those days with the bands that you saw, like
It was
maybe
never a
Ozzy
thing, was
Osbourne.
it? Yeah,
It wasn't a thing in those. Yeah. Yeah.
going back, what in the say mid-70s or something, nobody carried a camera. You know,
Yeah.
you go into a gig, you just go in there to just jump around in the crowd,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's not like everyone's doing selfies now. And I did meet a few people. We would go backstage and meet.
Yeah.
I've met Ozzy Osbourne and all the Black Sabbath lot. And one Black Sabbath gig, we were backstage, and there was Van Halen was supporting, and we bumped
Oh,
into those guys before they were really on the scene. And
Eddie Van Halen.
yeah, they were there at
Mm,
Preston, and
oh,
one I'll never forget is he always used to hang around the back of the Guildhall, and you could never get in. And one
yeah.
day we found this lift, and it was open, so me and my friend got in the lift, and this woman came in, this older woman, older than us, and we were going up, and I found she bent down and picked this badge up off the floor, and it was a Thin Lizzy badge, and she gave it to me, and she said, "What are you doing in the lift?" So we want to try and meet Thin Lizzy. They're upstairs in the hotel. She said,
Yeah.
"Oh, come on, I'll introduce you to the band. I'm
No.
Phil. I'm Phil's mum." And we were like, "It's
Oh my
Phil."
God.
I think she's, is it Philomena?
Philomena.
Yeah,
Philomena.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we walked straight past it,
Oh
like
my
these people
God.
hanging around, and straight into the bar. And when we got there, they were all just like chilling out and having a drink, and we were like, "Oh no, now what do we do?" It was a bit
Oh,
starstruck,
wow.
and they were fantastic. We had a game of pool with them, and it's sort of things you remember when you're a kid. Meeting your idols,
Yeah. Oh
and
my God.
what a
He's
fabulous band. Even now, Thin
yeah.
Lizzy, they've just
Well,
got everything in the
Phil
locker.
Lynott. I mean, he's just the rocker, isn't he? Or wasn't he?
Unbelievable.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What a
So what's
voice, and what a, songwriters, and what a great
yeah,
bass player. But Phil Lynott, what a fantastic front man. He's up there, to
yeah.
be honest.
Was it
One of
with
the best.
Eric Bell?
It's a very good question. I can't remember that. It's a bit. uh, um, yeah, I mean, funnily enough, I remember seeing Rainbow Rising tour. Do you remember Rainbow? A heavy
Yeah, yeah,
metal band, sort of. It was Richie Blackmore, and
yeah,
so
yeah.
you
The
remember, even
Temple of the King. Do that
even
song, was it Temple of the King, right?
oh God, I can't even remember that. But I mean,
That's
it's
like
not a sort of music that I listen to anymore. But as a kid growing up, the stage sets were like massive Rainbow, and yeah, you remember just going live music, and
yeah,
yes, some great times growing up as a kid.
yeah. Well, the reason why is because Aidan O'Rourke, my husband, he's actually sort of like joined us as well. Um, he's worked with Eric Bell. So Eric
Right?
Bell's sort of like last couple of albums. It was my husband who did the sleeve for it,
Yeah.
and he's also helped. And
Wow.
he played with him when he was in Cheshire a few
Is it a
years ago.
guitarist?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it rings a
yeah,
bell. That, yeah. I
yeah.
mean, Rainbow, I think it was Richie Blackmore when he left Deep Purple and formed
Mhm.
Rainbow. And maybe
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
crikey, and yeah, and there was a few legends playing with him. In fact, Cozy Powell was on drums. I remember now, and Cozy
right.
Powell was as a kid. Did you remember that the Cozy Powell drum song that he had in the charts? So to see Cozy Powell live on stage was, and of course he did like a 20-minute drum solo, and
Yeah.
everyone
Well,
was just like, "Wow."
is that how was it? How you got into drumming? It was like seeing all these bands. Was there any particular moment where you actually said, "Oh my God, I wanted to be like him. I wanted
I
to do
I
drumming."
I thought long and hard about this when I was coming on the podcast, and the honest answer is I can't remember. But I'll tell you, I remember saying to my parents, in particular my father, when I was very young, a very young teenager, and said I would love a drum kit. And we were watching a program called the Benny Goodman Story. He's a clarinetist, Benny Goodman, and I said I'd really like a drum kit. And my dad said no chance. We only had a semi-detached house sort of thing, and I mean, I've got an electric drum kit now that I can put headphones on and play, and nobody can hear it hardly.
Yeah,
But so that always stuck with me. And then, I mean, you'll laugh at this. One day I went into my mate's bedroom, and there was three of my mates sat there, and I walked in, and he's playing this record. It just come out. I said, "What's this record?" And it was Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division. And we all sat around listening to it.
yeah,
And he went, "We can play this. Why don't we get a band together?" And out of four of us, there was only one who ever played a musical instrument, and he was the guitarist. And he
yeah.
could only do a couple of Beatles chords. He couldn't even play the guitar properly. So we decided there and then that we got a band, and we got a name for the band. And so I went home and said to my mum, "Mum, I'm in a band." And she said, "What are you playing?" I said, "Drums." She said, "Oh my God." And I was actually working at the time. I was like 17, nearly 18. And,
Yeah,
about a week later, we went down to the record shop, and to the music shop, and I got a black drum kit. It had to be a black drum kit. And it was bought on, you probably won't remember this, it's called HP, hire purchase, where you paid,
no.
we used to pay like a couple of pounds every week when I got paid.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
great day. So that was to me, Stephen Morris, probably one of my all time favorite drummers, because not for his technical ability, but just because his influence on me.
Yeah,
And he was always someone who wasn't brilliant, but always pushing boundaries. He was really into the, the electronic drum sound that was evolving, and as they became New Order,
yeah,
that I always thought they were pushing the boundaries of dance music as well and electronic beats. So, but he was my first proper influence. I'd seen Cozy Powell. I've seen every rock drummer that's ever on the great list, like Ian Pace and
yeah,
drummers like that, and you just look at them and go, they're just freaks. You'll never be that. You'll never be as good as them. But then I listened to Stephen Morris and went, I think I can drum like that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the point being that you didn't have to be brilliant. And I think, a lot of punk bands, influence people of my age because you didn't have to be a brilliant musician. You just get in a band and just go
yeah,
for it.
yeah.
Um,
So you're obviously so like self-taught. You didn't have any drumming lessons, or did you go for drumming?
I've had one drumming lesson in my life about 4 years ago,
Oh,
when
yeah.
I'd already been playing
I'm
for
so lucky.
35
I did
years.
not have your drummer.
Um, I've, when you were a kid that age, like 17, 18, and you're in a
Yeah,
band, you're growing up, we just used to play in a garage. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but we used to go and rehearse in my friend's garage and just make an absolute racket. And then after
yeah,
about 6 months or something, we came out and we had like half a set together, a couple of decent songs. We'd all learnt our instruments,
yeah,
and that band was called Prima Luce. That's like Latin for first light, and that was my first band. And we were just a complete Joy Division rip-off. We all had, we all wore Macs and like dyed hair and things. And yeah,
what's it called? What's it
Prima
called?
Luce, Primaluce. Um,
Wow.
and we used to play like the youth club and things, and that scene started going, and there was a
Yeah,
lot of younger lads who were getting into the punk side of things, and still see them now. For No Trumps, and yeah, Dead Men in Spats, and like bands like that, Dreaded Lurg. These lads are still about in Preston,
yeah.
and in bands now.
Yeah, well, Preston, I'm actually beginning to love well, not because I didn't know about Preston music scene until recently. I mean, the only time I remember saying this to Mark Whiteside, from Evil Blizzard.
Yeah.
The only time I've been to Preston was to see Tiffany.
Oh, right, crikey.
At the time, I didn't even know. So, like, God, where am I going? I mean, what's Preston like? But because I love Tiffany as well, I'm never good. And then I remember so like, oh my God, she's playing it. She's playing. So I went to Preston. And I thought, this is it's the first time I've been there. So maybe it's not really that kind of a music place like Liverpool or Manchester or Glasgow. But now, because of Preston Pop Fest and because of like all these indie bands that actually I realized that are from Preston,
Yeah.
I just think Preston is such a brilliant. It's got a brilliant sort of like music history as well. And I want to thank um, Rico
Yeah.
LaRocca for that, and Gordon Gibson of
Yeah.
Action Records as well, and of course like Fire Station Records because they're the ones who released Big Red Bus compilation CD, which I've got.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, we were playing this on the way to. Sorry, we were playing this
Yeah.
in the car on the way to Glasgow yesterday. But yeah, so I think Preston definitely it's got can be compared to Liverpool and Manchester and Glasgow, like I said, So, but
Yeah.
yeah, so after that first band, I can't even say it. That first band you were
Prima
in,
Luce. Yeah.
Okay.
God, I've been in that many bands, and I can't even remember how many bands I've been in. But and that was the thing at the time. It was, you were in one band and then another band, and
Yeah.
as a drummer, sometimes you're in a bit of demand. And I played for a couple of bands at the same time. And but yeah, pre-Maluke, the singer and bass player, I think he went to university in Manchester. So that band folded, and then I got in a band called Dancehall Giants, and
Yeah.
I think I gave you
Yes. I've got that. This. Oops. Sorry.
yeah,
This one.
yeah, that's
How do
about
you say it
yeah,
though? Yeah.
and
So
that
it's the Dancehall Giants. A Million Thoughts. That's what
yeah,
it's
I mean
called.
that is the singer from that band is Mick Shepherd,
Yeah.
who was a singer and songwriter for Big Red Bus. So
Yeah.
that's how that came about. And again, Dancehall Giants, we came and went and had a bit of fun. And then I joined another band called House, who were a bit more sort of prog rock.
Hmm.
And these are like really good musicians and a fabulous singer. We only did a couple of tapes recording. We just used to play like local community centre gigs, and it was nothing serious. It was just a bit of fun. And
So this.
then,
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. So this
and
is with
then,
Shepherd as well.
no, this is House. This was a totally different bunch of lads altogether.
Right. So
Dancehall Giants sort of split up, and we went our ways. And if I
yeah.
remember, I think Mick he first went to Hull University, and then he didn't settle in there, and he ended up in Sheffield. So when they go off to university, I formed another band in Preston. That, like I say, was a bit more prog rock. We're a bit like Yes, with a fantastic singer and great
Yeah.
musicians. That lasted for a couple of years, and then when Mick came back on the scene, he'd started songwriting again, and rang me up one day and said, what you doing? And House had just split up, and he said, I've written these 6 demos,
Yeah. Yeah.
songs, and I said, yeah, they're great. He said, I've got a guitarist and a couple of brothers actually, a couple of lovely lads, Neil and David from Longton, which is a village down the road. And I mean, those were great days. They growing up there, their parents had a really nice house in Longton, but the parents used to
Yeah.
live
Yeah.
in Dubai. So we had
Yeah.
like the house to ourselves, and there's pubs down the road, and oh, great, crazy times. And
Oh,
so we'd be in the living room just jamming,
yeah. Yeah.
in detached house, and we came up with an album's worth of material, and that was a reasonably successful band, and
And
you
that's
know,
Big Red Bus.
yes, right. A lot
Yeah.
of great memories.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
this one again from Fire Station Records.
yeah,
This was actually the first time I've heard of Big Red Bus. I played this because during the pandemic, um, that's when sort of like the lockdown that we had last year. I've got all these CDs and vinyl that I haven't played that we just sort of like ordered from various
yeah.
like Fire Station Records and something, or maybe got it from record shops and stuff. And I thought I'm gonna do from A to Z. I'm gonna play everything. And then when I got to Big Red Bus, I googled it. I was like, "Oh my god, they're from Preston."
Yeah,
But then after that, I went to Preston. First time I went to the Ferret to see a gig there. Before going to the venue, I went to Action
yeah.
Records, and that's when I found out that Gordon Gibson actually managed. I don't know, was he the
It,
one who
it,
gave you the recording?
we were on Action Records label.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then these ones, the
yeah,
album, and this 12-inch as well.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, the album. What happened there was because we'd like hibernated in this house in Longton, and written. Mick had a lot of song ideas, and they just came together really quickly, and we just jammed for like 5, 6 hours a day, and had a
yeah,
couple of beers, and then carried on, and so we got really tight, and we booked this gig at the Bodega in Preston, and we had loads of friends. It was really packed. It was upstairs. It was a great venue, and we were doing 2 sets, and after the first set we came off stage, and Mick came up to me and went, Gordon from Action Records has just been in and said he wants to sign us. I said, we've only done one set. He might not like the rest of the stuff yet. So what had happened is we'd gone in the studio and recorded that album and paid for it
Yeah.
ourselves. And Gordon said, "Look, I'll pay for it to be pressed up on vinyl." And that was like brilliant, you know. And obviously he's got a
Yeah.
record shop, so we got the push from Action Records, and yeah, I mean things were going really well. There was, believe it or not, there was some major record labels coming to look at us, and it just never really happened for whatever reason. And I mean, you laugh at this. We used to say at the time, every band from Manchester was getting signed, and so we were like,
Mhm.
and this is with the Preston thing, with respect, Preston's a brilliant. It's now a city. It was a town always when I was growing up, and people
Yeah.
used to say, like London, people from London, "Oh, where are you from?" And like Preston, I'm like, "Where's that?" And like going, It's right near Manchester." And we're going, "Oh, right, Manchester. Oh, yeah, okay." And then 6 months or a year later, people going, there was bands from Liverpool getting signed, like Rain, The Real People, all
Mm,
bands that we were really into,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
sort of fit in that genre, Big Red Bus, like jangly indie sort of sound. So we started saying, "Oh yeah, we're from Liverpool," and when they said you're from Liverpool, they send A&R people up to come and watch you play. And it was like, "Are you from Liverpool?" I'm going, "Well, no, we're just a
yeah.
bit further up the road." But it's the sort of things that you did. But I mean, you're going back to Preston, their Action Records. It's like an institution. I always say this. It, when we were younger, especially. I mean, we were on the record label, so we used to walk in and you just go look through the shelves, and because there was no social media and no Spotify and no YouTube in them days, I just like, "Oh, Gordon, can you just put that CD on?" And you put it on and go, "Oh, wow, that's brilliant. All right,
Yeah,
I'll buy that." Or, "Can you put that record on?" And so you go in the record shop, hang around in there and listen
yeah,
to music. And that's how you found new music. I mean, you mentioned Rico as well. And he's like, as a promoter, he's just what
yeah.
every band needs. He's a top lad. And he's
Is Rico, is Rico local? Is he from Preston?
yeah, he's Preston.
Born and
Yeah.
raised. Yeah, yeah.
I think he's Italian parents and things.
Yeah,
But I've always known him as being in Preston. And he's one of the promoters that is more of a fan. He's
yeah,
so enthusiastic, and
yeah.
he really likes the buzz of getting bands back together to play his shows. And m- o- nearly all of them are based around the fact that they've had a John Peel session, or John Peel's played them on his show. So,
Yeah,
he's obviously a big Peel fan. And that's a lot of his music is based around. He does these Peel shows, and they started off at the Consi, and this
mhm.
one's morphed into the Pop Fest. Like he's saying, bands from Glasgow like come. "Oh, we've not played together for 10 years, and Rico
And
told us to get together, and he's putting us on." It's like, it's fantastic. Yeah,
Right. Well, just want to say hello to our friends who joined us. There's Gilbert from the Philippines.
Gilbert,
He's got Big Red Bus CD from Fire Station Records as well. And
brilliant.
we've got the host of It's All About New Wave. That's another podcast from the Philippines, based in Manila. Monty, hello Monty. He's
Monty.
from the Philippines, and Hillary Hornby.
Oh,
Um,
that's my sister.
Oh my god! Hello,
Hi,
hello.
Hill.
Yeah, watching from Washington. Is that?
Perth in Australia.
Oh, sorry, in Australia, Western Australia, Perth,
Yeah,
Western Australia.
yeah.
And but she said happy birthday to you as well. Happy
Thanks, our
birthday.
kid. Oh, and
Okay.
thanks for the gin. I got a bottle of gin through the post from a local gin manufacturer who's in Pemberton. That was a nice surprise.
Oh,
Thanks, Hill.
from your sister. Oh,
Yeah.
that's. Well, hello, Hillary. Also Jonathan Jackson.
Oh,
Um, This is well, Jonathan said, "I'll wish him a happy birthday if I get a shout out."
hi,
So,
Johnny. Okay. He's a Burnley fan from lives in Preston.
alright. And
Yeah.
Monty says happy birthday as well. Happy birthday.
Thanks, Monty.
So right, we're going back to Big Red Bus. So apparently you're big in Norway and big in Japan as well.
Big in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how these things pan out, and I mean, I'm sure you're going to ask me. We got the gig supporting Stone Roses at the Guildhall in Preston in the
Yeah,
foyer,
yeah,
you
that's
know,
right.
tiny
Yeah, yeah.
venue before Stone Roses really hit the scene properly. They were just breaking, and we managed to get that gig through a really good friend of mine now. At the time, I didn't know him that well. He's a music promoter working for his brother, and now he's set up on his own. There's no third entertainments, and he put the Stone Roses on. And he was mates with the guitarist and said, "Yo, do you want to play?" And
John
um,
Squire, mates with John Squire, or was it with Money?
no, he was mates with the guitarist and the bass player from Big Red Bus.
Oh, from Big Red Bus, not the
So
Stone
he
Roses,
said,
no.
"Oh, you
But
can
yeah,
support this band, the Manchester band
yeah, yeah,
called Stone Roses. I'm putting them on at Guildhall." And what happened before we go on to that? What happened was
yeah.
there was a kid from Norway there, a lad called Espen, and he was in the crowd watching. And he lived in Bergen, and his mate ran a club putting live bands on in Bergen. So, excuse me, after the gig, he went into Stone Roses' dressing room and said, "Will he come and play in Norway?" And they went, "No, get lost," sort of thing. And then he came into our dressing room and said, "I've asked the Stone Roses if they want to come and play, but they don't want to come. Would you like to come?" And we were like, let's think about that. And he went, we'll give you £1,000 a night for the gig." And we're like, "Yeah, where do we sign?"
Yeah.
And then he said, "My friend's got a penthouse apartment overlooking the harbour in Bergen." And we're like, "This is too good to be true." And lo and behold, that came off, and we went out there and played like 3 gigs, and
Yeah,
then I went back second time, and after I left Big Red Bus, I think they went back a third time.
right.
Um, so, and again, you know, Norwegian people so infectious, really passionate about the
About
music
music. Yeah,
and
yeah.
football in particular, you know, and they were like, "Where do you come from?" It's like, "Preston." "What team do you support?" "Preston North End." "Eh?" It's like, "Oh, we're near Liverpool." "Oh yeah, Beatles, Liverpool FC, Man United, we're near Manchester," you know, it's all that. But
When you supported the Stone Roses, this was in 1989, right? So they weren't really that massive, although they were really, because that's actually how I got, like I discovered the Stone Roses. I was living in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi, and I
yeah.
saw the Stone Roses, saw like on like Top of the Pops video compilation. But anyways, 1989, when you were supporting them, what were they like? I mean, Rennie. I mean, do you think Rennie was like the most amazing drummer in the world?
You know, we supported them twice and
Yeah.
never spoke to them. They were they were so they kept themselves to themselves, and they always had a lot of people with them because they were breaking band. You know, I mean, the story is this: is that I got a phone call saying, "Oh, we're supporting this band called Stone Roses." I think it might even have been a Sunday night and it's a tiny venue. It's just a bar area of the Guildhall, and then somebody said, "Oh, they're on Granada Reports tonight live." So I tuned
Mhm.
in on the television and I was watching it going, "Oh, they're not that good. They're not good at what crikey." Ian Brown was singing, he was like out of tune and it didn't sound great. And I'm going, "Oh, right, great." So anyway, we played the gig with a lot of friends there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there was another band on, I can't even remember who that were. And then just before the Stone Roses came on, all the lights went black and they filled the room with dry ice. And it just seemed as though everybody came from out of the woodwork and everybody packed the room. And they came on, and within 30 seconds, my jaw's on the floor. I'm going, "Oh my God." They were absolutely brilliant. The sound was incredible. And of course, Rennie, the drummer, was like, I'm like watching him going, "What's going on here?" But that same night, I was doing a sound check for the drums, and this is the only contact I had with any of the band was as I was sound checking and playing the full kit. I sort of turned round to the side of the stage, and Rennie stood at the side of the stage, and he watched me sound check. And then, just as I finished, the sound engineer went like that, and I looked around and he just nodded. And I was like, "Okay, you know, I'll take that." And I didn't know sort of how good he was then, but and honest. truth is that is the only time we ever spoke to them.
Oh God.
Certainly personally, anyway.
Yeah.
That gig we had two dressing rooms, and we you don't want to start knocking on the door and introducing yourself. It's all a bit
Yeah. Yeah.
cheesy, and if we'd have seen them in the bar or something, that would have been great. But so what had happened then was we supported them the following Thursday in Birmingham. It was a tiny venue called Edwards Number 8. And so we got a minibus, and there was about, I think there was 8 or 9 of us went down, and we had the gear
Yeah.
in. And we got to the venue, and we looked up, and the venue is at the top. Like, oh God, no lift. So I'm the drummer carrying all my gear up these steps. I was absolutely honestly, it must have been 5 or 6 floors, probably slightly exaggerated. And we set all the gear up. The room was minute. I'm not joking. It was tiny. And the stage was like facing the corner of the room. It was really weird. The bar was on the side. And so we sound checked and it sounded all right. And what happened, we stopped and we just like stood around. The next minute, the Stone Roses walked in with their manager and a couple of other hangers on us. And they just looked at the room and they went over to stage and went, "We're not playing here." And we were like, "What?" And so the promoter, who was our
Yeah.
mate, came over and he went, "Oh, major problem." Like, what is going? Stone Roses, they don't want to play the gig. They weren't happy with the mixing desk, but this is what happened. The room held about 60 or 80 people. And as we came outside, there must have been 250, 300 people in the street.
No
And they were
way.
outside signing autographs. I was going, "What's going on?" And they said they just broke on the front of the NME on the Thursdays, a picture of them.
Oh my
And it
God.
said,
Yeah.
the greatest, the best band in the world, or something along that introduced the Stone Roses. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like, oh bloody hell! And it was a bit like Beatlemania. There's millions of people outside by this time. The crowd was getting bigger, and
Yeah.
so what their manager went and spoke to the promoter and said, the Big Red Bus, next time they play Birmingham, they can support Stone Roses. And true to the word, it must have been about 6 or 8 months later, we supported them at the Irish Centre in Birmingham, which was
Then,
massive. And we set up on stage and we'd had a sound check and they opened the doors to the venue and everyone just ran in. They were running to get to the front and we were like going, "Oh my God." And so the venue was
oh my
packed
God.
right
Yeah.
from the start.
Yeah.
And I mean, we sort of went down all right. It was a bit, but that's probably, one of the most nervous I've ever been. It was like packed out venue. And I
Yeah.
wasn't in the greatest state of mind. Let's just leave it at that. And but then they played, and it was just phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
how big they went on to become. And what had happened was that they'd sold all their merchandise, and people were buying our t-shirts and our records and things. It was like flipping heck, brilliant. So, but great days. I mean, we were so lucky. And if it wasn't for
Yeah.
Nigel at No Thirds Entertainments, you wouldn't have those memories.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and just by playing the Guildhall, we got the Norway gig, and that went on
Mm,
for a few years. And those were great days when you look
yeah.
back. You're on your
Well,
memories, and fantastic.
I suppose again you haven't got like photos with Rennie or any of
No, there's
no.
none of that selfie thing in those days. I mean, I might have done maybe, but and with hindsight, you don't know if these bands are going to be massive.
Yeah.
You don't know who you're going to play with. And
Yeah.
we played Liverpool a couple of times, and my memory's rubbish. I can't remember who we supported, but they went on to be quite a big deal because people turned up to watch them, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, you just don't know. You're going along, and when you're young, you're just going along for the ride, and we were drinking and one thing and another, and just enjoying the ride really.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
I
Yeah.
think when you get a bit older and look back, I wish I'd have done things a little bit
A
differently.
little bit differently. Yeah. Yeah.
People
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I've never got any regrets," but I do have loads.
Yeah.
You sort of wish you could have your time over again somehow. I never practiced drums. I wish I'd concentrated a little bit more and honing my skills, and But there you go.
Yeah, well, do you know there's sleeve notes on this CD? Apparently, it says, I don't know if it's true, but apparently from the warehouse of Action Records, loads of like Big Red Bus albums and 12-inch singles were shipped to the Far East.
I
And
think that happened later on. I think I think the 90s jangly indie scene sort of
yeah,
at the time, it's like I said to you early on before we came live, is music scene was moving so fast from myself as a kid into heavy metal, and then the punk scene exploded. And while I wasn't
mhm,
into hardcore punk, like the post-punk scene was totally different. I mean, things like Elvis Costello was punk, the Jam were announced as punk, which are not really in the genre of punk is the Sex Pistols and
yeah,
Razor Blades and
the Clash,
yeah, the Clash and things.
yeah,
So I was into more like Elvis Costello stuff, and I've got loads of his records
yeah,
and that scene. And then Joy Division came on the scene and completely exploded. Certainly in the northwest of England.
yeah.
I was lucky enough to see them in Preston when they played at the Warehouse.
Joy
As an
Division,
18-year-old. Yeah,
Joy.
Joy Division played. Yeah,
Oh,
and I'd been to see the Who at Wembley just a
yeah.
year before, and I remember having a Who t-shirt on and long hair, and I'm watching Joy Division with my mouth open. It was like, oh my god, it was just chaos for a start. It was a tiny venue, and it was like a mosh pit. It was rough as anything I'd ever seen, and you just sort of, and then you got the Bunny Men, and when they hit the scene, it was like they were the best thing since sliced bread for me. Pete
Okay.
Euphrates from the Bunny Men,
Yeah, yeah,
rest
yeah.
in peace. He's one of
Mhm.
my all-time favorite drummers. You go and watch Bunnymen live, and it was a show. It wasn't a gig.
It's
It was just phenomenal. And I go and follow them everywhere. Must have seen them 12 times in the heyday.
right.
And then, and I noticed from one of your posts that you were a Mark Burgess fan.
Yeah, yeah.
Chameleons,
Yeah, the
another band
Chameleons,
that I
yeah,
followed
yeah,
religiously as a young lad in the certainly the mid 80s,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we go and watch them. They played in Manchester a lot, and a couple of years ago I joined a Chameleons fan page on Facebook and started, don't interact with that, but started watching it, and somebody put up, does anybody remember a T-shirt that they did with like a kid's painting on it? And I went, I've got one of those T-shirts. And so I remember because I used to wear it every gig when I was playing for Big Red Bus. And I remember cutting sleeves off and I used to wear it all the time. And I've got it for you. Look at this. Look at the state of it. Now that is a white
Oh,
T-shirt. Um, but
oh, wow.
it's got like blood on it and sweat on it, and I've still got it. I'm worried that
Oh my God.
if I washed it, I think it'd disintegrate. But I put it on this picture of it on this Facebook page, and everyone's going, I got like private messages, I'll give you 50 quid for it. I'm like, what? I said, you want to smell it? It's disgusting. It's like, it's all, it's brown. It's like full of, got
Oh,
bits of blood,
wow.
my blood on it from where I cut my hands when I was playing. And
Yeah, yeah.
people going, that is the original unbelievable rarities,
Oh my
for
gosh.
probably a 40-year-old shirt. People are going nuts for it. And, I never throw things away. And I just thought, if
No,
there's
you
anything,
shouldn't.
I
No,
should have thrown that away because of the state that it's in. But, and I'm sure that if the Big Red Bus lads look back on this video, they will remember that shirt because I wore it every time we played,
oh my
and it
God.
was like my stage gear, even though it's not the thing to do,
Yeah, yeah.
but it was just such a good t-shirt. But
Oh, no,
so yeah, the
I've not seen
Chameleons.
that before.
Oh,
Was it like from a tour or something, or was it just something that?
yeah, it was probably, well, gosh, again, just going to gigs every weekend, and
Yeah, yeah.
picked that up I saw them at the International too, um, which I don't think is a building that's used now, and that was in
No,
Manchester. There
yeah.
was International 1, I think, became the academy, and the International
Oh,
2, I think, I
international
don't.
tour. It's now the Venus Turkish, the Turkish sort of like shop, because we used to live near there. We used to live sort of
Oh
like,
right, the
yeah,
International 2.
well, near that
Yeah,
place. It was on Conningham Road in Manchester, Victoria Park.
that
That,
rings a bell. So as you're
yeah,
coming up down Oxford Street
yeah.
or
Well,
Oxford
it was sort
Road,
of
where
like
International is, and then your road would veer off, and it's like a couple of miles
yeah,
outside.
yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah, crikey
Yeah, I used
again.
to live near there because yeah, that's why I'm so like very familiar with this venues, but it's like it's gone, But it's now
Yeah.
a Turkish shop
Oh
where
right,
you get
okay.
really nice kubos of bread. like the
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I mean, I think if I recall,
yeah,
it was a very famous place where like the Stone Roses first started playing,
yeah,
and I think the Happy Mondays were first on the scene there. Um, I mean, interestingly, I work my job. I advise people on trees and planning applications, and this guy once rang up, and he lived in Burscough near Liverpool, where I was working, and he said, "Can you come and have a look at my trees?" Blah blah blah. So this house is really nice, big house, and it's got like it looked like a church on the side of it. It was an Accrington brick, like a spire on the side, and I often wondered what that building was. And then when he let me into the house, as I looked into this room, there was a
yeah.
guitar on the floor and a drum kit all mic'd up, and I went, "Oh my god, it's a recording studio." So goes into his garden, talks about trees for about 10 minutes, and then as he's taking me back through the house, I can't help but notice
No, yeah,
that
yeah.
studio you've got. And he said, "Oh yeah, you into music?" I said, "Yeah, I played drums all my life." He went, "Oh right, come in." So I was in there for about an hour and a half. Honestly, I was supposed to be there for 10 minutes. An hour and a half later, so this guy was a roadie for the Stone Roses when we were in Big Red Bus, and he's
No
like,
way.
"What band were you in?" I said, "Oh, I was in a band that you've never heard of." And as I looked up, he had a Stone Roses poster on his wall, and I went, "I was in Big Red Bus and we support." He's went, "Oh bloody hell!" And it turns out that his best mate is Noel Gallagher,
Oh my
and
god,
Noel Gallagher was he
Brody.
did
He
the
was
drummer. He was the drummer in his band.
oh
Noel
my
Gallagher. He said Noel was here last night recording some drums. I'm like, this was only a few years ago. I said, what? He said, yeah, they were them two were in a band called Tail Gunner. Do you know what? I can't remember his name. And he was the sound engineer for Oasis, one of their first albums. Oh God, I can't. This is what happens when you get old. Your memory starts
no.
going. Um, it'll come to me. But and we were like just going over old times. And what happened was this guy he comes into money every time that album gets reissued. Definitely maybe or be here now, one of those. And so like there was an anniversary, and I'll never
Mm.
forget. He rang me up. He said, "I'm going to get my tree pruned now." I said, "Oh, you just come into some money, haven't you?" Because the reissue of the album would come out. We were laughing about that, and so it's like again, it's
I
you
think
get one stroke of luck by
yeah.
getting off the Stone Roses gig, and your life as being in bands just like takes that
Yeah.
road, and you think if we wouldn't have been offered that gig, what else have I got to talk
Yeah.
about?
Well, I was sort of like, was he the one who sort of commented on the page about the tree? Because I was sort of like thinking, what's that all about? Because
Gosh.
when I think they were sort of like on Ask the Drummer page, someone asked about when are you coming for my tree or something.
Oh
Like,
no,
was it
that's
a different one?
Pete Geld. It's a guy from the village. He's like
But anyways,
it's all tongue in cheek stuff. It's all a bit of fun. But I promised him I'd do a tree survey. But I'm like, God, I'm just so busy at the moment. Like, leave me alone, Pete, sort of thing. Because he
it
probably doesn't
was,
want to pay me for it. It's like, get lost, go and find somebody else. But it's
oh,
just a bit of a laugh. Yeah.
well,
What was he was the
um,
producer of early Oasis. Oh, it's killing me now. And his number's in my phone. So So if there's anybody out there listening, just Google who was the sound engineer for
Sound
Oasis
engineer.
the
Or
first two
maybe Neil
albums.
would do it because Neil
Yeah,
said the international one was on Anson Road. Yeah, that's right. It was Anson Road. Anson
yeah.
Road and then Cunningham Road. So like near in Victoria Park. And also, I've got another birthday greeting here for you from Lindsay Clark.
Oh, Lindsay,
Um,
thank you,
yeah,
Lindsay. Yeah, friends. Their son's just gone off to university.
right. Yeah,
So
and
I know she's a little bit sad saying goodbye to her son. He's gone off to
oh
Nottingham,
no,
Adam.
right.
So
Yeah,
all three of us are in that loop. Your daughter's just left, and
oh,
yeah.
yeah. It is
So
sad, Lindsay. I mean, it's the same with me and with same with Scrub as well. So, oh,
yeah,
right. Neil said Owen Morris. Is that the right name?
no,
Owen Morris? No, no, it's not the right name.
no, but uh, it's something like that. He's definitely in my phone. So, but what'll happen is as soon as we finish this podcast, I'm gonna remember it, and it's gonna drive me nuts. But yeah, if you look at there's a very there's a brilliant Oasis documentary, and he's in it. He features in it a lot because his best mate, he was a roadie with Noel Gallagher, and it starts off because Noel Gallagher was the roadie for Oasis before
Yeah.
he was the guitarist,
Oh,
and it was his
then
brother that was
Spiral
singing.
Carpets as well, wasn't there? He was the roadie for
Spiral
Inspiral
Carpets, yeah. So Noel used to carry gear about, and this guy was,
Carpets.
and then he went on to be the sound engineer for the Roses, um,
Yeah,
and the studio engineer.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so again, small world, and
yeah,
I mean, you mentioned in Spiral Carpets, Big Red Bus. What happened there with that that All I Need single that you had in your hand?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting story because we paid for the first album. Gordon said, it sold quite well. And Gordon said,
Mm-hmm.
I'll pay for you to go back in the studio and do a second album. So what happened there was we were halfway through recording that, and with all the songs rehearsed and really tight, a lot of good new material. And Mick, the singer, started getting a really bad voice. His throat started getting sore all the time, and he was diagnosed with having
Oh,
polyps. Uh,
oh, yeah,
so what happened there was we only got recorded about 3 tracks, so we didn't never finish the album.
yeah. All
And
right.
Mick had to have an operation on his throat, so it was all shelved. So what we decided to do was just release a 12-inch single,
12 inch.
which is
Yeah.
All I Need. And Hulen on the B side is the name of the club in Norway that we used to play. Hulen is Norwegian for cave, and we used
Ah,
to play in this cave. I mean,
yeah,
that talked about they were great days. So
yeah,
that's how that materialized with just the release of that single. But All I Need, that got picked up by John Peel, and he
yeah.
played it about 3 times, which was great. But it was played by Nicky Campbell on Radio 1. Now, he only played it for about 25 seconds, but the amount of money we got from that was phenomenal. You were
Oh,
paid
so cool.
royalties,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we had a bank account, individual bank accounts, and John Peel had played it, so we'd get like 40 quid each or something, and 25 quid each, and we're like, that was quite a lot of money in the early 90s or whatever it was. And then Nicky Campbell played it for about
Mhm.
25 seconds, and
Yeah.
we started getting like £60 each, then £50 each. It was like, wow.
Oh,
So you can imagine, and we were
yeah,
thinking, just imagine like being the Beatles or the Jackson 5 or Michael Jackson, how
yeah,
much their records are getting played, full albums time and time
yeah.
again on Radio 1, and you can imagine how much money they're
A
earning.
lot of money, yeah.
It's
Oh, right.
phenomenal.
Yeah, well, Jonathan Jackson said maybe Mark Coyle. Was
Mark
that
Coyle,
Mark
that's Mark
Coyle?
Coyle,
Yeah,
that's him.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
okay.
he
Yeah.
still messages me now asking for a tree advice, and said, "I'll come round, but I want to talk about music." So yeah, Mark Coyle, nice
Oh,
one.
God.
Thanks,
Well, at
John.
least now, yeah. Well, thanks, Jonathan Jackson, for that. But so after Big Red Bus, you and Mick Shepherd did like Works Unit Only? Was that
Yeah,
another band that
okay,
you
that's
did?
another chapter.
Yeah. Trying to get some.
Yeah, where do I go with that? Is Mick's really into Mick's, is prolific. He writes songs and his
Yeah.
ideas and plays guitar and sings. And he hooked up with an old friend, certainly in the circle of friends, was a guy called Tim Kelly. And Tim's
Yeah.
really into his folk stuff. So Mick's going, oh, I'm thinking of putting something together. And I've been jamming with Tim. And I was listening to it going, oh, I really like this. It's a bit more laid back than what I was into. And I go down and have a jam with them and play brushes on the snare, and then he introduced to kit, and
Yeah.
I said, oh, another really good guitarist on the Preston scene is a guy called Tony Cornwell, who's a good mate of mine, and we'd been in a couple of bands here and there that, for whatever reason, never took off. So,
Mm-hmm.
and we discussed it, and we discussed the name because the works unit only was just them two. I said, if we're going to get a band together, why don't we get a new name?
Mm.
So I came up with the name The Amber List. I don't know if you noticed that name. So, I mean, they're still playing now,
No.
but I mean, The Amber List is very popular now because of the COVID thing.
Oh,
It's like you've got the red list, the green list, and the amber list.
oh yeah, yeah, okay,
But
yeah.
the amber list started because it's a book of birds. So as birds become rare, they go on the red
Yeah.
list, and as they start to become rare, they go on the amber list. So I thought, what a great name for a band. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
that yeah, I did a few good gigs with them,
Did you
and
ever
then
do recording, or were there like release some records, or?
we did a few bits and pieces. But I'll be honest, it was a couple of band members. Certainly 1, 2 members wanted to go down the more folk route, and to me, being a drummer, I just wanted to make a lot of noise and bash the hell out of my kit. And
Not using those brush things where you just go.
yeah, so as the more sticks we're using, and
Yeah,
anyway, I mean, just us, yeah. We parted ways, and that's fine. They're still good friends and things, and
yeah, yeah.
they're still on the scene. And I got my cousin involved, who used to play in Big Red Bus. He was the drummer when I left Big Red Bus. My cousin, I got him involved, and he came up. Big Red Bus got together once. He said, "I really want to get drumming again." And Big Red Bus did a thing for the video Chased by Nuns on Action Records.
Yeah, yes,
Um,
yeah. I finally got to see that one.
again,
Brilliant.
it was
Brilliant. Yeah.
Rico that wanted to do a thing for Action Records, a release of the film. And Rico doesn't do anything by halves, so he got two bands on. One was he got a Big Red Bus back together,
Yeah.
and the second one he had Jess Kerr playing. Jess Kerr
Oh,
from Certain
certain
Ratio.
ratio.
I'm
Oh my
like, Certain
god.
Ratio, one of my favourite bands.
Yeah. Oh,
Again,
he's
another
so cool. He's so
fabulous.
cool, Jessica. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
mad. A Certain Ratio. Again, growing up,
yeah.
they were on the scene. I was a young lad, really into them. So for Big Red Bus to be playing with Certain Ratio, we played at Blitz nightclub, which is brilliant. And it
Yeah.
was the release of the Action Records video. So how I lead on to that, as my cousin Simon, he said to me, "I really like to get back into drumming again." And I remembered that when things weren't going well with me in the Amber List, and I said to him, "Do you want to come play for the Amber List sort of thing?" And yeah, and he said, "Yeah, too right." So that's how that came about, and now they're carrying on and they're enjoying it more than they ever were because they've got the
Oh,
right drummer. And
yeah, yeah.
just before this, Mark from the Dandelion Adventure, which is a band that you're aware of, another
Yeah.
Preston band,
Preston band. Yeah.
messaged me
Wasn't
and
he?
said,
Yeah.
got a project going called The Common Cold. We're writing an album. How you fixed putting some drums down in the studio? I said,
No.
oh yeah, when's this? And he went, next weekend. I went, what? So I said, well, he said, AJ lives in Holland. I said, how's that going to work? He said, well, we're thinking of putting an album together, and then we're thinking of going on tour with it. So, cut long story short, I got an email, and I got emailed about 8 drum beats, electronic drum beats. Can you learn these? And I'm listening to them, going, "Oh my god, what have I let myself in for here?" Learn these because next weekend AJ's coming over from Holland. We booked a rehearsal studio on the Saturday and a recording studio on the Sunday. and what we're going to do is we're going to go through it and
Yeah.
then record your beats on the Sunday. I said, okay, that's fine. I'll do my best. I said, it's not going to be easy, but in for a penny, as they say. And then a couple of days later, I got, oh, by the way, there's going to be 2 drummers. I'm like, what? Like, what? Oh, yeah, it's a guy called Darren Garrett, who used to play with The Fall, if you know that name.
No,
I'm like, what?
no,
Okay. So he messaged me, where's the
yeah,
venue? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, again, turned up on the Saturday,
yeah,
and AJ was on bass, and me and this other drummer just going hell for leather. And AJ's going, okay, yeah, right, what's going on? And then the next day we're in the studio, and we just recorded all these beats. And
yeah,
basically, about 6 months later, I got sent the demo of the album, and it was just brilliant. And what had happened was AJ had recorded the drums, put the bass on in the studio, and then took it back to
yeah.
his studio in Holland and put all these guitar effects on it, and then come back over to Preston and recorded the vocals with Mark in his
Mhm.
kitchen, and then gone and mixed the album. And have you heard that Common Cold album?
But you sent me a link to it.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah.
but
It
I thought
just,
I
you
thought
know,
that one was with David Chambers.
Dave, what had happened was they contacted me because Dave
Yeah,
was working at weekend. Dave works sometimes Saturdays and Sundays. And they said, Dave can't go in the studio, can't record. There's just a small window of opportunity. So can you sit in for Dave, sort of thing? And I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, okay, I'll give it a shot. But what happened subsequently, the album was out, and straight away it started getting great reviews. And AJ's going, right, boys, we're going on tour. So we did, like, I think it was 11 dates,
yeah.
11 gigs in 11 days around
What
the
year was
UK.
it? What year was
It
that?
was 2018. It's very, very
2000.
recent.
Yeah, yeah,
So we did the tour. You won't believe it. We started off in Darwin, which is a village near us.
yeah,
2 drummers, and it was like thunderous. AJ were like all these effects. So it's a bit like oh, what's the Irish band? It's like a bit of a wall of sound, and Mark is brilliant over the top of it. And
yeah, yeah,
so that was going down really well. And we did Darwin, then we played Lancaster. Then from Lancaster we went to Newcastle, and that's like miles. And then Newcastle to Brighton, like, oh God,
oh my
it's like a
god.
9-hour drive or something. And
Yeah,
then Hastings, which is near Brighton, and then London, Leicester,
yeah.
Glasgow. And then the last night of the tour was Preston, and I was absolutely cabbaged. I was so tired, um, drumming and carting gear about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's a project that I'm really proud of being part of. And again, it's one of those things where I'm thinking to myself, do I want to do this? Still in the amber list at the time, and we were gigging. Um, and I've just always said to myself, in life, in anything, just don't turn anything down. Never say no to anything, because you never know what's going to come of it. And of
Yeah,
course, the
oh,
common
yeah,
cold
yeah.
now has come on to become Ginnel through
I
one
was
way or
just
the
about
other.
to say there you go with Marvel, and this one is really good because Paul Simpson. Oh my God, we love you, Paul Simpson. I mean, he's just, if you ask any Filipino new wave about Paul Simpson, they'd be like,
What
what?
is that
Like,
about?
but anyways, so these are like Paul Simpson's artwork,
Yeah,
and I don't know, but maybe it's not good for me to say this, but it's like the
better than the
reason
record.
why the reason why I got into Ginnel is because when Paul Simpson posted it on Facebook, I said, I gotta get that. I've got to get that Ginnel, that
You
Ginnel
know,
saying.
again, it's how these things just fall into place. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
We were putting the single out, and Mark's the creative one in the band, and he said to me, if we're going to put this single out, and we recorded it in Manchester, and
mhm,
Ding, who recorded it, had like mixed it, and we were happy with the sound, and I'd heard of this other guy called James Aparicio, and I sent it to him, and he said, I can do a mix on this. And I'd listened to some of his stuff that he's produced, and went, can you make it sound a little bit like some of the music he's produced? And he said, yeah, I can do that. So he comes back with this mix of, and that's the blueprint mix we've got at the moment. And
Yeah.
Mark said, hang on, we've got such a good product here. We've got to get the package with it. It's got to have. We like the crass thing, and have you heard of a band called Girls in Synthesis? They're like following the footsteps of Crass by doing a lot of DIY stuff. So you'll get a
Mm.
record and it's folded in a poster, and it comes with like
Oh,
stickers, badges, and
yeah, yeah,
postcards. It's
yeah,
just a really interesting package. So we thought about that, and we thought we'd be copying them a little bit, and we had to do some of our own thing. And then a couple of days later, Mark rang me up at work, and I was like in a meeting, and my phone, like, I kept looking at my phone. I'm like going, swipe, I'm working, I'm in a meeting. And he rang me about 5 times, and I finished the meeting and went, sorry, I've got to go. Oh, what are you doing? And he goes, you're not going to believe it. He's obviously, knows a lot of people in the industry, Wild Swans and
yeah,
Teardrop Explodes. The Common Cold had some comments from Julian Cope about how good the album was, um, and how the drumming sounded like. Do you know what a dustbin man is? The people that collect your dustbins and empty your waste. And Julian
yeah.
Cope had said the drumming sounds like the dustbin man coming down the road. And I'm thinking, I'm going to take that. I'll have that all day long. Thank you, Julian Cope. Oh, massive Cope fan.
Yeah,
And that Liverpool scene,
yeah,
Bunnymen, and so to get any comment, and then Mark's
yeah,
going, Paul Simpson. I've been following him on Facebook, and he's doing all
yeah,
this amazing art stuff. This collage work that Mark's
yeah,
really into. He's
yeah.
going, you're not going to believe what's happened. He sent him a message out of the blue, a really nice, polite message saying, "Oh, absolutely love your artwork. We're a band from Preston, and what's the chances?" And he got back and he went, "Yeah, what do you want? I'll design the cover for you." And Mark's going,
Wow.
"We'd like a little bit of artwork insert."
Artwork insert. Yeah, yeah,
So we've got Paul Simpson on board, and Mark sent me some snapshots of some of his work, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's really going to work." And Paul Simpson was saying, really like the band's name is Ginnel. It's very northern. You know what a Ginnel is? It's back alleyway and
yeah,
blah blah
yeah.
blah, and it sort of likes sound and the cut of the jib, and again something else that just fell into place and works really well. And I swear
Yeah.
blind that, I mean, we put the record out. We only did 300 copies. I think we did
Limited
two.
edition. Yeah,
It was
yeah. That's right.
200 copies, and
Yeah,
we've got, we had promos aside and things for radio shows and record labels, blah blah blah, and it was sold out before it even came on sale. And we think part of it is because of Paul's artwork. you know,
I'm sorry to
Forget the
not.
record. People were buying it from Liverpool, and we knew they were after the art and not the record. But such is life, we'll take that all day long. But
Well, I bought one. I ordered one for my friend as well because, as soon as Paul Simpson saw I posted it on his Facebook, I was like, "Oh my god, this is just so good."
yeah, and you know what, lovely guy as well, and
Yeah, yeah. But the
again
song
from the
itself,
scene, and
it
yeah,
was amazing. I mean, especially hearing it live. When you
yeah,
play it live at Preston Pop Fest, it was just so good. I think Marcus Parnell's voice is just really,
yeah.
powerful and amazing. And
People say to me, they talk to Mark, and
yeah.
he's a really lovely character and that. But then, he gets on stage, he just becomes a completely different animal. You know, and even, I mean, you didn't see us at the Glastonbury the week after, and Mark had a couple of looseners, shall we call it, and he just went on stage and he was like, nothing like how we rehearsed. He just got on stage and just went nuts, basically. And I'm like, we're all like going, what the hell? And he ad libs, Mark, and at the time, his lyrics, he's making things up at the time as well. He's really
Yeah.
clever
Oh,
like that. And he's,
yeah.
very, very good at that sort of thing. And But yeah, I mean, Ginnel is just great. Just great set of
He's
lads.
lovely. He gave me his lyrics, after you said a Preston Pop Fest, and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah,
I'm so lucky to have all this.
yeah,
Anyways, you're gonna be playing on Sunday in Blackpool, so I'm gonna go and see you
brilliant.
play. Oh, yeah, I'll be there in Blackpool. But I know it's so like it's lovely, really lovely talking to you. But I've also got before I let you go, I've got one other question that I would like to ask you, because this is like recent news. Do you know the Rick Astley Blossoms?
Yeah,
Doing a tribute, like the Smiths tribute band and stuff. I don't know if you know this, but Rick Astley was a drummer before he
I
became.
believe so. Yeah, and he's a pretty good drummer as well.
He's oh my god, he's a
Yeah,
brilliant drummer, and he's into prog rock as well.
yeah, okay.
Because he said he said this during one of his gigs that it was his sister who sort of like influenced him.
Wow.
So, yeah, he's a brilliant drummer. And I think his band was called FBI. I mean, not the soul band, but it was called
Right.
FBI, I think. But anyways, what do you think of that recent news? So like Rick Astley and
I'm going to be totally honest. It appears that many times on my Facebook, and I've never clicked on the link. It's I don't do cover stuff, but do you know what? I mean, each to their own. Blossoms are young lads.
yeah,
Glad to listen to them. In
from
fact, the guy
Stockport.
who recorded
Yeah,
all the Ginnel stuff is
yeah,
Ding Archer, and he's their sound tech. So he posts things. He's back out on the gigging scene with
yeah,
Blossoms,
yeah, yeah.
and I've listened to them, and it's not my bag. I'll be honest, but
Oh,
I see young lads just living the dream in Blossoms, and they're catapulted onto the scene. They're massive now, and they're supposed to be playing. They were supposed to be playing Action Records Shop on the release of some of their early stuff, and then
yeah,
it got moved to Blitz nightclub in Preston, because Pete Alexander, who runs this nightclub, he's in with Action Records. Gordon, they're really good friends, and when he
yeah,
has say a band is doing a record release, they do an in-store, and you go and you order a copy of the album online, and you get a ticket for the gig. So
yeah.
depending on how many tickets they sell, so we did Villagers, and I turned up at that, and
Mm.
they did about 35. Now that was COVID related, that was recently. But the Blossoms thing, they did so many pre-orders for the album that they had to take it to a big nightclub. And unfortunately,
Oh,
that has not
yeah.
happened because of COVID. And
Um,
what's happened subsequently is Blossoms have gone massive in the last couple of years. So they're playing like stadium tours.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a sad fact that I mean, one of the Blitz gigs was Fontaine's DC, and there was
Oh,
about a
yeah,
hundred in. You
yeah.
know, I mean, look how big they've gone through the roof
I love
now, and
Fontaines. Yeah, I love Fontaines.
I've seen them a couple of times. They're
Yeah,
brilliant, but
brilliant. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree.
so things catapult like that, and again, that's the Preston thing. The Action Records, a lot of independent record shops got wiped out by like your HMBs and
Yeah, yeah.
Virgin record stores, and so a lot of smaller companies went under, and Gordon kept afloat. And you've seen the
Oh,
documentary. He
yeah,
said one day he went into work and he took £2 over the
yeah,
counter, and his bus
yeah,
fare was £2.40.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, that's how bad things
Oh,
got, and that's why it's such a tribute to the fact that he stuck it out, and
he's
now
still,
it's just
he's still
the
there.
vinyl resurgence, and
Yeah,
the record store day thing, that's massive for Gordon, and
yeah, yeah.
it's just great that he managed to keep afloat during those days, and because
I
it's
love
like I
that
said,
stuff.
it's an institution in Preston, and
Yeah,
I don't know where I'd be without Action
that's
Records, and
remarkable.
bands and things. Probably would I still be drumming? I don't know, but
Yeah. Well,
so you,
he's the one who told me about you.
yeah,
Because when I
I
went to
hope it was nice things.
oh yeah, you just saw like one of those local heroes, right? And then he said to me,
Yeah,
"Oh
it's great, and his wife Vanessa helps run the
yeah,
shop. We go out with them, for a meal and things, and for meet
yeah."
them for a drink, and we meet at gigs. And but you're coming on Sunday, and am I right in thinking that you've never seen Evil Blizzard?
No, I haven't. No,
Oh
this will be
God,
the first. I'm
are
so.
you ready?
I'm, I'm so
Get ready. They are absolutely amazing. You're
because
going to be blown away.
well, I love being at the front because I'm short, so I really want it to be at the front so I can see the band and so
Yeah.
like. But I'm actually so like worried that what was it going to be like?
Do you know what? It's not
Like,
that. It's not what you think. It's not like a load of youngsters moshing like an Idols
yeah,
gig or something
yeah.
like that. It's not like that. And plus, it's going to be a Sunday, so it's going to be a little bit more subdued,
Oh,
maybe. But I mean, they're raucous, they're fun, and they have this. They do have amazing interaction with the crowd where
oh.
you've never seen anything like it. Like the crowd boo them when they come on, and like booing the crowd back, and and it's this interaction. And people said to me once, "Oh, a bit of a comedy band." I'm like, "No, it's not like that. It's there's that interaction with the crowd. It's like a
Yeah,
parody, if you like, but they are very good as well. And you've got like half the tracks I'm really into,
yeah.
and the others are good tracks. And the more I listen to them, I like other tracks they do.
Yeah.
So they are very good as well. Like there
Oh,
used to be four,
listen.
five bass players and one
Yeah,
drummer, and
because
that was
one
side.
of the bass player of Ginnel also plays with
Yeah,
Blizzard with Mark Watts and likes of Blizzard. So
yeah. Pete Brown, he's called Stomper in Evil Blizzard, and I mean, again, Pete's bands were around when I was a young lad. He's slightly younger than me. Well, he's a bit younger than me, but he was in a band. Oh gosh! And they went to Norway on the back of the big red bus thing, going to Norway because the Preston they got the Preston band over. We told them about Pete's band, and Side was also the drummer of that band. I
yeah.
can't remember. This is what happens when you get old. Your memory starts going. Dreamland.
Oh,
And so they went over to Norway. So that's how far I go back with Pete Brown.
yeah.
But he's a bit of a local legend on bass terms, and he's probably in about 4 bands now. He's in This Swamp
Wow.
Thing with Mark, where Mark plays guitar and sings. Have you heard that band?
No, no. I don't think Mark when Mark was on Ask the Drummer, he never mentioned any of the, or maybe he did, but I just
He
didn't.
did slightly, but with
Yeah,
Swamp Thing, they only play
yeah.
one gig a year,
Oh, right.
and Pete's in them. So yeah, that's what it's like. The Preston music
Yeah,
scene.
yeah,
Um, you become sort of known as, oh, can you come and do drums on this? Can you play bass on that? Or like Mark, I'm going to sing on this. That sort of thing. I
yeah,
mean, there's not that many musicians in Preston. I mean, it's interesting now with all the young ones coming through. But it's just been a fabulous scene. I mean, it's not
yeah, yeah,
on the scope of Manchester or Liverpool, but the people are just the same, And as you've seen, the Pot Fest, it's and that was like undersold because of COVID. If
yeah,
that was 2, 3 years ago,
yeah,
it would have been twice as busy.
yeah, yeah. I
But
believe so. Yeah, yeah.
it's just been a great scene and something I'm chuffed to be proud to be involved in all my life, living in
Yeah.
Preston, and so
Well,
lucky for
I
such a
really
rubbish drummer.
was like, oh. But okay, because right, this is the last question now because I know we were sort of like it's nearly 4:30. But anyways, since I'm in Glasgow and the podcast as the drummer, I mean the sub headline or the subheader of it is like a Bobby Gillespie quote. Bobby Gillespie being
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Glasgow. Well,
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Gillespie said that a band is only as good as its drummer. What's your reaction to
Well, what can I say? Um,
Mm,
that does get bandied around all the time, and obviously I'm totally biased, and I think even guitarists and singers and bass players agree with that, because if you've got somebody that can't hold a beat, then your band is going to be all over the place.
yeah,
And well, to play devil's advocate, years ago I once went in a pub in Preston, and it was a covers band on, and it was the most shocking drummer I've ever seen in my life. This guy couldn't play. He was doing his best. Every credit for getting up on stage and doing his best. But they started doing a Sex on Fire, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's quite a technical rhythm, that, believe it or not. It starts on an offbeat, and basically this guy started just doing the whole beat wrong. And then the guitarist started, and I'm not joking, within 30 seconds, the whole pub was singing it. And I'm like, hang on, they're murdering it, but nobody was bothered. Everybody was, they were on tables and chairs. Whoa, I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah,
But
is it the Kings
and
of Leon? That Kings of Leon song? Is
yeah,
that
and they were just covering it. And, it's like, you don't have to be brilliant. And I
yeah,
think that's how I first got into drumming. It's like the fear of starting something and having to be Cozy Powell or Phil Collins, or Richie Blackmore if you're a guitarist, or, brilliant singers. It's just about getting up and having a go. And, any band, I always have respect. Even if I don't like it, it's not my thing that I listen to. I'll never criticize any band
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
all about just getting stuck in and giving it a go,
yeah, yeah.
and having fun. Because, and Mark said, and I always used to say this, and I heard Mark say on the podcast, if you're not having fun, what's the point?
What's the
You
point?
know,
Yeah,
got
that's
to be
true.
fun.
Yeah. No, it's just
Well,
great. With the drummers, whenever I see them live and they go the that's really amazing for me. It's like, oh my god, oh god,
the stick click. That's the count so that everyone can hear it. It's like, oh God, right, I'm starting this one. This is how fast it's going to be. But
oh my god!
yeah,
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I really enjoyed that, and
you're
enjoy
welcome.
the rest of your day. Happy birthday once again.
Thank you kindly. That's really
Yeah,
kind of you. Lovely to talk to you, and
see you as
thanks
well.
everyone for tuning in. And I will look forward to seeing you on Sunday.
And see you Sunday.
Don't
Thank
forget your
you.
earplugs.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Take
Bye.
care, and see you
Yeah,
soon.
you too.
Thanks
Bye.
everyone. Bye now.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. Sorry it went on for a bit longer, but thank you for joining us. It's a special day because it's Scope's birthday today. And keep an eye out for oh, thanks, Neil. Yeah. Thank you. Keep an eye out for next week's guest announcement on the Ask the Drummer page. So, and thanks everyone for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm off to see the Orchids this evening, so I'm really excited about it. And do a bit of a Peneley tour, a guided tour, hopefully. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Love music, love life, and of course, love drummers. One love you all. Bye. Bye.